United States, and Mexico always wanted to come reclaim Texas after the Battle of the Alamo and San Jacinto. Mexico had lost Texas, or at least control of Texas. Well, the Alamo happened in 1836, and 10 years later, Texas voted to join the United States in 1845. The United States accepted Texas in December 29th, 1845, and Texas became the 28th state. Well, this made Mexico mad because they had claims over here on Texas, and they had never agreed to the treaties that Santa Anna signed saying Texas would be independent. So there's a big conflict here. They were trying to negotiate, and Mexicans did not want to sell the United States any land, is basically what the attitude was. And the president that was negotiating in Mexico was thrown out of office, and a general put himself in charge and said, we're not selling anything. Well, President Polk, who'd been negotiating with them and talking about paying good money, told Taylor to come camp down here on the Rio Grande and force that issue. Well, as soon as that happened, this was March and April 1845, then Mexico started congregating their troops at Matamoros under General Ampudio and General Arista and General Torreon. They came from all over Mexico. Taylor had 4,000 troops that he had marched down. He was establishing a supply post at Fort Isabel, where the lighthouse is. That's old Fort Polk. He had built an earthen fort right on the Rio Grande where Fort Brown was. They called it Fort Texas, and it was like 2 football fields enclosed by a 10-foot high wall of earth. And there's some levees there. They moved that dirt around later to protect Brownsville from floods. And so that earthen fort's been taken apart, except for one little small part where there's a cannon. This was the end of April 1846. And Taylor was worried. He heard Mexican army was coming across the Rio Grande, and he sent out troops looking scouting parties to see what was going on. And one of them walked into an ambush. Captain Thornton with 60 American cavalry rode into an ambush, and General Torreon captured them all, killed 5 or 6 in the fight. And General Taylor then wrote to Washington and said, we've got a state of war existing, and the United States declared war. And Mexico declared war a lot earlier before that, as soon as Taylor came down here. They were all real polite. You know, the Mexican army would send letters and say, you need to go back north of the Nueces because you're in Mexican territory. And you can imagine what all the ranch people here that were Mexican nationals that had their ranch here for 200 years saw the American army piling in. They didn't like that. So the locals all came out to help support the Mexican army. Taylor was down on the river about April 1st and decided he needed to go reinforce Fort Isabel. Fort Polk, because that's where all his supplies was. So he marched up there. Meanwhile, the Mexican army was coming across both above and below Brownsville, and they were going to try to cut him off from his supplies, but he got there and reinforced it. May 3rd at 5 o'clock in the morning, they started shelling Fort Brown. The Mexicans did. And General Arista had his part of the army around Fort Brown and had it surrounded and were shelling it, and they put in 1,000 rounds the first day. The American army there only had so much ammunition, so much food. And General Taylor was worried about him and sent in Samuel Walker in the middle of the night, who was a Texas Ranger. And the Texans that were here with Taylor's army had all been part of the Muir expedition. They were very fluent in Spanish, and later in the war they would put on Mexican uniforms and go into the Mexican army camps and find out what was going on. They had spent so much time in Mexico that they were made commies. Anyway, Walker comes back and says they're okay, but they need ammunition and food. So on Wednesday, May 7th, Taylor starts marching to relieve Fort Brown, and it's a day-and-a-half march between Fort Isabel and Fort Brown. And General Arista pulls his army out and lines it up across the road. And the old road is over where that shade is. And you'll see the flags staked out where the Mexican army lined up out there. He lined across the road and waited for Taylor to come, and that's where we got in this battle here. It had rained a lot. You couldn't get off the road north of here because it was lake or it was muddy, and south of here was thick brush, and these open fields were the best spot to fight. Except when you got out in them, there was a lot of water standing, and this stuff is real muck. It looks nice and hard now, but if you get a 6-inch rain, you'll sink up to your ankles, and horses won't be able to run. And that's what happened, was they lined up, and it was muddy, and so just the artillery started firing at each other here. And the American Army had brand new cannons, and everybody had been to Europe and been trained, and they were really good. And the Mexican Army had gunpowder that wasn't so good, and old cannons. They just hadn't spent their money on stuff. They were good fighters and very brave, but they didn't have the equipment. And so Mexico here took a hard hit on the artillery. The Americans ended up losing, I think they had about 50 wounded and 7 to 15 that died from their wounds here. The Mexican Army, they don't know for sure. They think there's about 400 killed. Now, the Mexican Army in this battle started out with about 4,000, and the Americans started out with 2,200. Part of the Mexicans were ranchero volunteers and never took part in the battle, and we don't know exactly how many were out there, probably under 3,000 on the battle line, so it wasn't that weighted in favor of the Mexicans, but it was still, even after they suffered a lot of losses at the battle here, they still way outnumbered the Americans. Okay, so they fought until sunset. Cannon firing and cavalry charges, great cavalry charges. And just the Americans had their cannons like these had been trained in Europe, and it was a new idea. You hooked up 4 horses. This cannon hooks up to the back of this lighter, and you hook up 4 horses, and you can move that cannon around, and they would run out with it real close. It was already loaded. They'd fire it, load it again, fire it again, and they're shooting grape shot, which is like a great big shotgun. And when you fire it into a mass of people, it kills a whole bunch of them. And then they would pick up and move back out of range. And so the Mexicans really weren't able to fire on the cannons. And Americans weren't firing at the Mexican cannons. They were firing at the Mexican army. And they killed a lot of men. Like I said, they killed something like 400. So they did that all day. Mexican cavalry, 1,000 of them. Cavalry charge is a big deal, and the Mexicans were the best horsemen, and they had this great big cavalry. Only thing is, I'll show you, the defense was developed in Europe, Napoleonic Wars. The defense for cavalry charge was you formed a square, okay, 2 or 3 ranks deep, and the front rank would kneel down with the bayonets locked in like this, and you're shoulder to shoulder, and there's 2 men behind here, and they've all got their bayonets out, and everybody's loaded. And when a cavalry charge came, the horses would run into those bayonets. The men would be squeezed together, and for each horse coming at you, there would be maybe 6 bayonets pointing out. The horses wouldn't charge in that. They would just stop. So Torreon knew he couldn't charge that square until his artillery put holes in it. He was trying to get cannons to come up closer, and they couldn't make it through the mud. Then the American infantry riflemen opened up and started shooting them, and they backed off. Then they tried to charge again, and they got hit by cannon fire. And so Torreon, I think his horses were all shot up by the end of the day, even though they hadn't been killed. There was hundreds and hundreds of musket balls fired at him, so they probably had a lot of wounds. From here, they went to sleep in their ranks facing each other. Ulysses Grant was a young lieutenant in the middle of the American line, and he said he slept there right in the line, and that was the best night's sleep he'd ever had. From here, the Mexican army backed off, moved down 5 miles towards the river, and at the Resaca, they formed a breastworks there. And they got overrun by the American cavalry there. So I'm telling you histories of the battle, and it was a fight over especially this part of Texas, the Nueces Strip, which at one time was part of Tamaulipas. Well, it always was until Texas took over, until this war. and I can understand everybody fighting. Texas claimed it, Mexico claimed it. So, we're going to talk about the Mexican Army?
Yep.
Okay.
I represent the Mexican Army. I'm a captain in the Mexican Army, and I belong to the 4th Infantry Regiment. It's the numbers 4. And we're from this area close to Matamoros. The battlefield actually was where those flags are in the distance, very close to where it happened. The reason it happened here is because the road from Matamoros to Port Isabel, what is it, Port Isabel, went right through there. Port Isabel was where they would get ships coming in and they would tax the products coming in. So it's very important, a lot of money being made. When the American Army moved into what is today Brownsville, you can still see the remains of the fort if you go behind the university. There's a golf course that's no longer working. You go in there. It used to be 8 feet high. It is now like 3 feet high. And there's a cannon in the ground with a muzzle pointing up. Supposedly, I don't know how true that is, Don. I don't know if you know, that's where Jacob Brown died, for whom Brownsville is named. Okay? Because the Mexican Army saw, and the Mexican nation saw the invasion of the U.S. as an invasion into territory that was theirs. Because the United States saw it differently. And arms decided that issue. Like he said, it was about 150 miles from here, the Rio Grande, to the Nueces River, close to Cal Allen. Once you cross the exit to San Antonio or Corpus Christi, there's that river there. There. That's what the Mexicans said was the northern border. Not here. The reason the Americans said it's a Rio Grande is because Santa Ana surrendered to San Jacinto. He made an agreement to remove all Mexican soldiers south of the Rio Grande. But because he was a prisoner of war, that is not legitimate according to the Mexican government. He was under duress. He was forced to sign. So you can see the Mexican side. The American Army occupied this area, and there were SIM patrols up and down the river. And if you go south of Harlingen, there's a cannon on Military Highway. That is where the first skirmish took place. A couple of months before this battle. An American patrol got ambushed by Mexican cavalry. Something like 60 Americans were killed and the rest taken prisoner at a place called Carricitos Ranch. Okay? From there, the American president made the statement to Congress, American blood has been shed on American soil. So overwhelmingly decided to go to war. That's when they moved down here to Brownsville. The Mexican Army started crossing in force. The Americans heard about that. They thought they were going to cut off their supplies in Port Isabel, which at the time it was called Fronton de Isabel. The Americans called it the Point or Fort Polk, after the present Polk. The Americans moved most of their soldiers, which was about 2,300.
Well, they had 4,000 soldiers. They left 7th Infantry, about 500 men at Fort Brown, and then they manned Fort Polk. And when they came to this battle, they had 2,200.
The Mexican Army crossed over in force, had about 1,000 or 3,300, more or less. They were moving up. The American Army could hear the bombardment of Fort Brown, so it's moved south. There's a water hole somewhere over here. They were both aiming for that water hole because it's in May. You know how hot it gets here in May? These uniforms are made out of wool. I am sweating like you wouldn't believe. It is hot. But that's what they wore at the time. One, it wouldn't catch fire really quickly because if you look at the musket, flames can easily come out of here and they used to stand shoulder to shoulder. See?
Yeah.
And also, the Mexican Army copied the uniform from the French, from the Napoleonic era. I don't know if anybody can read French, but here's a French briquette. There's French right there. All I can read is the year, 1813. 1813, that's the time of Napoleon. They copied a lot of their weapons from the French. That's why they're colorful as heck. You look at some of the movies of Napoleon, they look like us, or the Mexicans look like this. By the way, all Mexican soldiers, most of them carried swords. In the American Army, only officers. The uniforms look more like we're going on a parade. This is a captain. Those are privates, no ranks, but you look, they have tails, look like tuxedos. They look pretty cool, but they're not practical for battle. You stand out like a sore thumb. Look at my buttons. The Americans reported that they could see the sun glistening off their uniforms from a distance. When they started the battle about 2:30, they were about 800 meters apart. Unfortunately, Mexico was corrupt then as it is now. A lot of the officers bought their positions or their oath, their commission to a favor that their father did for somebody, for reason. It was the same then as it is now. That is the ammunition that they would fire. What caliber was that?
69 caliber.
69 caliber. Mexicans carried 75 caliber weapons, which is about that size, what they would put in there. Again, on the way back to the uniform, this is our ammunition belt with a bullets. Of course, we got the sword, we got a bayonet.
Brought my metal canteen.
And he's got, that's what the American Army would carry, and we would carry water here.
This is 10.
This is a gourd, guaje, I think in Spanish.
Yeah.
Keeps the water cooler longer.
So the Americans would throw these away and get those.
And you notice it's got a corn cob. I just put tape on it because it would go all the way. So to keep it in here, you have to kind of adjust our stuff. And when the American Army came back here, they saw the Mexican Army spread out in front of them. Muscle menos over there. If you go over there, they got the battle lines drawn. They're not exact, but they're pretty close. At 2:30 in the afternoon, the Mexicans opened fire. Only problem with the Mexican cannon, they were old, they were made from the 1700s, and the powder wasn't very good. So they were able to shoot over the Americans' head, too short, and it wouldn't even fire at all. Reports say the American soldiers see a cannonball coming, they would just step out of the way. It wasn't that the Mexican soldiers were cowards. They weren't. They stood under fire. It says they weren't very well armed or very well led. The battle lasted till about nightfall. The commanding Mexican army was a guy named Arista. He reported about 325 killed. The Americans said how many done?
400 roughly.
Wounded, a lot of them. Because they were standing in line. The American artillery was some of the best in the world. And the latest movement of cannons was practiced by the Americans here by a guy named Samuel Ringo. The Mexicans moved up here and moved his cannons and blasted the heck out of it. They even annihilated our band here. Our band was playing a tune. Boom! Killed all of them.
That's what the Americans could do. They were all, West Point was an engineering school, and they'd fire those exploding shells and they'd blow up in the air over your ranks and kill everybody below it. At Fort Brown, the Mexicans were firing the same shells, but they would land in the mud, make a hole in the ground, and then blow up, and it wouldn't kill anybody. They put 1,000 rounds in the first day. They should have killed everybody in that fort if they'd been doing it right. But they didn't have the right guns. They were shooting long barrel cannons that would shoot a long distance, but they needed mortars that would shoot up and down and get over the walls into the fort. Americans didn't always have the proper guns either, and you go with what you got. But in this case, there were several things that worked against the Mexican army. That cavalry, the Mexican cavalry, should have annihilated the American 5th Infantry when they charged it. The Mexican artillery should have been putting holes in that tight-knit square. You fire cannonballs through there and you'll kill 5 or 10 men at a time. And after doing that for a couple minutes, there's holes in that square and the cavalry gets inside and chops them up. And that's what the Mexicans were trying to do, but the cannonballs, the powder was not strong enough and they were landing.